Isaac Cohen joins us with more in sports now. How did the Canadian girls do today?
You're just itching to know, aren't you?
I am.
It's killing you. But guess what? You're going to have to wait. Just like the rest of you, we'll have those highlights coming up after the break and the Stanley Cup playoffs in full force. Kings, Hawks, and more. Sports is next. Andy, overall, bad starts have definitely hurt this team, but it hasn't told the whole story. Here's one thing to consider. The Wolves have yet to hold the lead the whole series, but they're confident as long as they're on the same page defensively, they can turn this series around. One other thing tonight, the players will be relying on an electrifying crowd.
We know when it's time to have fun and when it's time to be serious, as we can see with Frank in the background now.
Frankie, you've built up quite the reputation with this interview bombing. What's the whole motivation behind it?
It's just something joking around to do after a win, basically. It's pretty simple. You just go on the back of an interview and do something silly.
Who's been the inspiration for you behind all of this?
Obviously, you see Kessler do it there on the Canucks. He does it pretty good. You just got to make sure your bombs are kind of creative and you don't do the same thing twice.
I thought it was a good team effort to get the W 5-on-5 was.
Well, it seems like you got a big fan behind you there.
Yeah, there he is, #1 fan.
Well, I got to ask you, how do you pick your victim? I mean, is there certain players you like to pick on?
No, not really. Just whoever's getting interviewed. But obviously, the guys that are more serious in their interviews, those are the guys that are easier to target.
When you go with the boys in public, do you ever try and pull any funny stuff with the strangers on?
We do it at restaurants. Restaurants is definitely the place we try to do something like a shoe check or get a guy a birthday cake or something like that. So the stuff in the hotels, obviously, we can't talk about, but we can definitely the stuff in public is definitely PG.
Have you always been a prankster?
Yeah, a little bit. I try to keep it a little light and fluffy on some days. Obviously, it's serious when it's game time.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, you've fallen victim to this interview bombing. Now you're getting a little revenge? Silence is golden. Lively's Ross Proudfoot is making noise at the FISU World University Games in Kazan, Russia. Representing Team Canada, Proudfoot has qualified for the 1,500-meter final after finishing 5th in the semis. An off-season in hockey? What you talking about, Willis? It doesn't exist. Plenty of news across the north, beginning with the Wolves. The Golden Shield sits second in the East Division and control their own destiny with only 3 games remaining. If they manage to hang on to second, they'd earn an automatic bye to the OCAA Championship. Munenori Kawasaki busting a move. How can you not love the guy? The Jays visiting Cleveland. Esmil Rogers on the hill for Toronto. Bottom 2, Jason Giambi. He still plays. His RBI single plates the game's first run, 1-0 Indians. The Jays went 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position last night. Top 5, Emilio Bonifacio down swinging. The Jays threatening again in the 7th with runners on the corners. Josh Tolle draws a 2-out walk. Bonifacio trying to make amends for his last at-bat. He delivers a clutch 2-run single to right. The Jays finally break through, and guess who's in attendance? My former TSN buddies making the trip to the Cleves. Bottom 8, Michael Brantley hits a screamer under Reyes' glove. The tying run plates. Reyes knew he should have had that one. Top 9, the most popular player on the Jays, Kawasaki. Huge bases clearing double. Toronto retakes the lead at 5-2. Bottom 9, 1 run already in for Cleveland. Casey Janssen trying to close it out. Nick Swisher grounds into what should be the final out, but Kawasaki throws it away. TSN's freaking out. It's 5-4, but Delabar comes in and stops the bleeding. The Jays hang on to win a 5-4 thriller. Guess what? The crew can breathe again. Leafs and Habs fans have been chirping each other all day, and that includes myself and cameraman Rob, all in an effort to help fuel a potential first-round preview. Hockey's oldest rivalry, adding another chapter tonight. Montreal has already locked up a playoff spot while the Leafs sit 5th in the Eastern Conference. The game barely 2 minutes old when the Leafs strike on the power play. Tyler Bozak fires it past Carey Price. Toronto grabs the 1-0 lead. 6 minutes later, Leo Komarov wins a foot race. He throws it on net. Price can't squeeze the pads. The Leafs are up on their rivals 2-0. Then the fun stuff. Nazem Kadri and Brendan Gallagher getting into a war of words on the benches. Kadri throwing his weight around. He levels Lars Eller into the boards. It's now 3-1 when the captain Dion Phaneuf tests Budai, and it's the same result. The Leafs with 4 goals on just 5 shots. Kadri on fire. He smokes Gallagher at center ice, and I really hope these two teams meet in the playoffs. Then it's James Van Riemsdyk, pretty feed to Phil Kessel. Leafs, Gagnon. Woo! Woo! Leafs are in the playoffs. I'm missing my party hat, though.
Yes, a nice blue party hat.
I should have colored these blue at least.
That would have taken you way too much time.
I know.
Thank you for that,
You're
Isaac.
welcome.